Welcome back, everybody. A little known fact about me is I'm a pretty big Doctor Who fan. Now, I'm especially talking about things post 2005. I haven't really rolled too much with the classic stuff yet, but I have done some research. So, this story interests me a great deal. As most of us know, on May 8th, 2022, a new actor was announced as the 14th Doctor, and that actor's name is Ncuti Gatwa. This 29-year-old sex education star, that was the name of the show, was announced via the BBC Twitter account. Gatwa was quoted as saying that he is deeply honored, beyond excited, and of course a little bit scared, and I may only have one heart, but I'm giving it all to this show. That's nice. To understand the significance of this casting, let us look briefly back at the near 60 years of history for this BBC sci-fi show. Doctor Who debuted on November 23rd, 1963, with the episode An Unearthly Child, with the actor portraying the first Doctor being the legendary William Hartnell. In 1966, the show introduced what would become a staple to the series, with the first regeneration into the second Doctor. This Doctor was played by Patrick Troughton. Now, I'm not going to do a rundown on the classic Doctor lineup. Well, okay, I'll do a quick one. The third Doctor was played by one of the few men that could make velvet work, and that would be Jon Pertwee. The most beloved Doctor, fourth Doctor, was played by the British national treasure, Tom Baker. Fifth Doctor would go to Peter Davison. Sixth would go to Colin Baker. The seventh Doctor was Sylvester McCoy. And of course, Doctor Who was officially canceled in 1989. In May of 1996, the BBC and Fox attempted to relaunch the canceled sci-fi show Doctor Who with Paul McGann as the titular character. To his credit, McGann was great as the Doctor, but the Fox-BBC co-production seemed to be a little bit at odds with the intention of who the Doctor really was. They made calls like having it be a little more actiony, and even revealed that the Doctor was half human. Now, I'm not going to say this was the worst idea ever, but it did rub longtime Who fans the wrong way. I will admit, I loved Eric Roberts as the Master. Yeah, he was a little bit over the top at times, but really menacing and captivating. It wasn't until 2005 when producer Russell T Davies, who up to this point, his biggest show had been the original British version of Queer as Folk, stepped in and regenerated the Doctor, if you will, into Christopher Eccleston. Eccleston played a rougher and more grounded Doctor. Gone were the days of super long scarves and celery being worn as a decoration. Instead, the ninth Doctor wore leather jackets, t-shirt, and a pair of slacks. The Nielsen ratings reported an estimated 8.08 average rating for the first year of the relaunch show. In 2006, the 10th Doctor, played by David Tennant, replaced Eccleston as the lone Gallifreyan. Tennant continued this role until the end of 2009. Davies' version of Doctor Who was pretty much episodic, but it did have seeds that would be spread throughout the whole season that would normally culminate in a multi-part season finale. In 2010, the leadership of the show changed hands to longtime writer Stephen Moffat. Moffat brought in a new Doctor, the 11th Doctor, played by Matt Smith. This era was very popular both with audiences and critics. Like Davies' previous run, most of the episodes were episodic, but did have elements of being serialized, especially in season 6. After Smith left his tenure as the Doctor, Peter Capaldi took the role, lasting a total of 4 years, where the 11th Doctor was jubilant and over the top at times. Capaldi's 12th Doctor was darker and more truculent. Since its relaunch in 2005, New Who were bringing back classic characters, everyone from companions like Sarah Jane to enemies like the Daleks and the Cybermen. And of course, one of the most dangerous villains of the Doctor, and that would be the Master. You see, he is a fellow Time Lord, and very much the equal to the Doctor. The Master differs from him by wanting to dominate instead of help. See, it's a little bit different. They got different views on things. A little bit different planning for that. I mention this because during the first season of Peter Capaldi's run as the Doctor, a character named Missy was introduced. Missy, of course, ended up being a regeneration of, you guessed it, the Master. As far as I know, this is the first instance of a Time Lord or a Time Lady changing sexes during regeneration. By the way, Time Lady is actually a thing. I looked it up. This seemed to act as a primer for the audience to see if Whovians would accept a Time Lord as a different sex. In this case, it worked out well through a combination of Moffat's writing and the delightfully evil Michelle Gomez. So it was pretty much no surprise that in 2018, under the new showrunner, BBC drama veteran Chris Chinball, the 12th Doctor would regenerate into a female, played by Jodie Whittaker. This current incarnation of the Doctor has been the most divisive than any previous version. One argument is that this is woke casting, appealing to the social justice warriors, or SJWs, whose intent is to either regender or race swap popular characters traditionally played by white men. I would venture to say there would have been less controversy if they had casted an American in the role of the 13th Doctor. The difference in writing was also noticeable once Chinball took control. The character of the Doctor became a little less interesting than before. The Doctor's trusty ship, the TARDIS, became a set instead of a reflection of the current Doctor, and a character in its own right. I mean, really, they had an episode called The Doctor's Wife. It was written by Neil Gaiman. It was so good. So good. Anyway, where was I? They added more companions with different levels of development. I mean, some were pretty cool and interesting and some weren't. One complaint that I heard is that the Doctor became a bit of a quote-unquote Mary Sue with little to no character development. Later seasons of the Doctor, Chris Chinball's Doctor, even threw the whole notion of who the Doctor was historically out the window with the inclusion of a fugitive Doctor that existed before William Hartnell. Now, Hartnell is pretty much commonly accepted as being the first incarnation of the character. This was sort of explained with the season finale named The Timeless Child, where it was revealed that the Doctor was in fact this timeless child and also the basis of regeneration, which ultimately gave birth to the Time Lords and their society. They kind of stole the ability from her. Now, this added element alone changed the Doctor from a person flying in a box trying to help when he or she can into some sort of divine being. I didn't like this, and it really didn't go over well with the fans. This was very much reflected in the declining Nielsen ratings, which declined from a high of 8.08 all the way down to a 5.16 for the 2021 season of Doctor Who. In 2021, though, both Chinball and Jodie Whittaker announced they would be leaving the show at the end of 2022. Later that year, it was announced that the man himself, Russell T Davies, would return to the show that he resurrected. This, of course, brings us up to the current casting news of Ncuti Gatwa as the 14th Doctor. Is this another example of woke casting? Well, I really don't think so. Aside from the fact that the Doctor has yet to be ginger, I'd say Gatwa is a very fine choice to play the Doctor. He does great work on the show Sex Education, and he just seems to have a wonderful charm about him. Besides, representation is a good thing, especially in the sci-fi genre. Now, time will tell, now that the series is back under Davies' control, what will happen. Will the timeless child be decanonized, like many of us hope? Will the fugitive Doctor finally be explained? Who knows? But I'm all in for it. But of course, those are just my opinions, and I would love to hear yours. Feel free to express yourself in the comment section. And as always, fare thee well, my friends, and take care. Cue the music.